Hello everyone, and welcome to Cat Scratch Kitchen. Today we're diving into the world of homemade ice cream magic with the Ninja Creami. And what better flavor to kick things off than the classic and irresistible strawberry. We're going to use Ninja Creami's own recipe to create this frozen treat and see for ourselves if the Creami is worth the hype. So grab your apron and let's get started. The recipe we're taking from is from the book that comes with the Ninja Creami, and we're using the strawberry ice cream recipe. And I'm going to do it exactly to their measurements, not going to add or change anything, and we'll just see how it turns out. First, I have a cup and a half of quartered strawberries, fresh strawberries. Then we need a cup and a half of granulated sugar. Seems like a lot of sugar, but this is not a diet recipe. We need a teaspoon of lemon juice, and it didn't specify fresh, so we're going to use bottled, and a teaspoon of light corn syrup. Now we just need to mash the strawberries. It says to use a fork. To me, I don't want to use a fork in this great big container, so I'm going to mix this all together, and I'm going to try using my dough fork. If that doesn't work, I've got a potato masher here I'll try. But the strawberries are not so ripe that they're mushy. They're ripe, but they're still firm, so I don't know how squished I'm going to get these. Once we get these strawberries mashed and everything is mixed together, we're going to put it aside and let it sit for about 10 minutes, just so that the strawberries macerate in the sugar for a little bit, and it's going to liquefy everything as far as the sugars are concerned, and then we'll add our cream to it. It specifically said to mash them with a fork, so otherwise I would have just brought out my little hand mixer or my immersion blender and used that to mash them up. But I'm assuming that they want a little bit of texture left in there for the strawberries. Didn't really want it into a pulp or into a puree, so we're going to follow exactly what they say. You can see it's already starting to liquefy as it's starting to macerate with those strawberries. Okay, those are mashed up pretty good. Now we're going to set it aside for about 10 minutes, let it macerate, and then we'll come back, put our cream in it, and finish the recipe. It's been 10 minutes now, and you see now everything is pretty much dissolved, kind of a syrupy consistency. So now the only other thing we need is 1 cup of heavy cream. And just mix it all together. You see the cream is all mixed in. Now I'm going to transfer this into a large measuring cup just so that I have a spout to pour it into the Creami container. One thing you want to make sure you do is taste it before you freeze it. Now the flavors of something that's at room temperature are a lot stronger than they are once they're frozen. When it's frozen, those flavors get dulled down. They're more mellow. So you want the taste at room temperature to be right there. You want it to be strong enough. You want the flavor of the addition of whether it's caramel or strawberries or whatever to hit you in the face. So we're going to taste just a little bit of it here. And it's really sweet, which is exactly what we want because we want it to be sweet ice cream. Not necessarily sweet, but it's going to dull those flavors down. So now we'll put it in our Creami. We have our Creami container with the lid, and we want to fill it to this max fill line. This recipe should fill it just to the max fill line. A little more than I need. And my measurements for my strawberries could have been a little over the top. I'm going to take a couple of teaspoons out of this just so that we don't go over that max fill line. Now we're going to put the lid on it. I've read several things that said if you leave the lid off when you freeze it, you won't get that bump in the middle. Ninja really doesn't address that except to say that if it is uneven, to flatten it out before you mix it. But because they didn't say anything about leaving the lid off, this first time we'll put the lid on. Now we're going to put it in the freezer for 24 hours. Now we're the next day. We've let it freeze for 24 hours. We've got a nice flat top. We don't have that bulge in the middle. So now we're ready to put it in our Creami. First, have to put it in our outer bowl so that those slots mat. And it just kind of clicks in there. You can tell it's solid. Blade's already in place. We're going to put our top on. And it clicks, and we're good. Now we're going to set it in our machine. Turn it all the way over till it clicks, and then we can turn on our power, and this is going to be on ice cream. Okay, now we'll see what our ice cream looks like. Looks pretty good, and such a beautiful color. That concludes our first Ninja Creami adventure. But this is just the beginning. Coming up, we'll have more delightful creations as we explore all that this machine can do. As always, the recipe is just below the like button, as well as a link so that you can print it out. Thanks for joining us today, and don't forget to subscribe and share. And until next time, have fun in the kitchen.